The Grade 8 plays at the world's most famous arena, looking to get closer to 900. That and more on this Locked On Game Night show.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL during the regular season and throughout the playoffs. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast. He is Shukri Wrights, a Boston Bruins fan on the East Coast. Together, we're here to tell you all about the goals, saves, big moments, and stories from the night in the NHL. So, Saturday night, every team in the NHL played. Sunday night, just two teams played. We had one game in New York City. I don't know what the schedule makers are doing. We had 14 games on Thursday, none on Friday, 16 games on Saturday, one on Sunday. It's wacky. I'm sure it's not as easy as we all think it is, but that's a wild end to the week in the first week of the NHL regular season.
It really is. In more ways than one. It's like, what were they thinking? But I could kind of understand not wanting to have teams play too many back-to-backs literally the first week of the regular season, but to have 0 games on Friday and only one tonight. But you know what? Tonight's game, though, was actually entertaining. It really was. I can't wait to dive into it. So let's ride.
Yeah, Metropolitan Division clash in New York between the Rangers and the Capitals. I know you've got ties to New York. You ever seen a game at MSG?
Yeah, born and raised. I used to go to Ranger games at MSG, so it's quite the environment there.
Very nice. I went a couple of years ago. My first visit to New York. I had a good time. It's a nice place. It's a nice place. Yeah. So it was a nice game, although low scoring at Madison Square Garden with the Rangers hosting the Capitals. In this one, remember we had that wild game on Saturday night out in San Jose. It was 7-6. Sharks beat the Ducks. This was not that game. This was a 1-0 victory for the Washington Capitals, but it was a good game. Not every game has to be 7-6. This was a kind of an old-fashioned pitcher's duel if you're a baseball fan. Both goalies played. They did. Both goalies played well. There were scoring chances for both teams. It wasn't as if there weren't scoring chances. So, you probably like to see a little bit more scoring, but in the end, it was a solid hockey game. But the Capitals come out with the win. How did they do that? Well, let's check in with our local host, the host of Locked On Washington Capitals, Dan Holme, is going to give us the insight.
The Capitals take down the Rangers by a score of 1-0. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals. Well, Charlie Lindgren, Chucky Sideburns, the outlaw, deserves the credit in the Capitals' victory today. He masked a lot of the Capitals' weaknesses that we saw, that the team is not firing on all cylinders. The special teams, the power play just needs a whole lot of work. This game also saw the return of Sonny Milano inserted into the lineup for the first time this season. Same goes for Declan Chisholm. Trevor Van Riemsdyk was out in this game, so in drew Declan Chisholm. I think we can assume that has to do with injury, but big picture here, Anthony Beauvillier tips an Alex Ovechkin shot and finds the back of the net. So saw some production there between Ovechkin and Beauvillier. But the Capitals winning 2 games this weekend, but definitely some weaknesses and things to work on. Thanks for Chucky for picking up the dub. I'll have much more on this for you later on Locked On Caps.
And thanks to Dan Holme for that report. Declan Chisholm, by the way, got an assist on that one goal of the game. But he's right. The star is, without question, Charlie Lindgren. 35 saves, 10th career shutout, 2nd career shutout against the New York Rangers. He was fantastic. And when you can have a number 2 goalie win a big game for you on the road against a quality opponent and do it like he did, that's a big deal.
Very. and at MSG no less. So let's not forget the fact that the Capitals, they were playing like back to back. Like they had the game against the Islanders, and then tonight at MSG, you're thinking that it'll probably be a 3-2 affair. Maybe it'll go to overtime because Caps Ranger games tend to be on a closer side of things. But no, this was an outstanding goaltending game from Charlie Lindgren's side, and as well as Jonathan Quick. Got to show him a little love. We'll talk about the Rangers in the next segment. But as far as the Capitals are concerned, Lindgren was just on his A game. It didn't matter what the Rangers try to do, whether if it was trying to get Rempe in front of the net or having him shooting from high to low or anything like that. No matter what the Rangers try to throw at Lindgren, he had an answer. And I know for sure that Mika Zibanejad, he was frustrated at one point. I don't know if you remember the one goal that Zibanejad thought he got past Lindgren, but Lindgren said, I got glove for you. I got it here. And it was like, what the heck can I possibly do in order to get one past this guy? And that was basically the story for Charlie Lindgren tonight. It was remarkable to see how defensively in front of Lindgren, they played the system to perfection. Spencer Carberry had the guys very well prepared, taking away the shooting lanes, which you saw a lot of tonight. And as well as whenever called upon, Lindgren was there to respond. And as you mentioned, he was to start tonight. But honestly, not to be forgotten, Anthony Beauvillier being in the right place at the right time. Those simple plays where you get your stick up just to deflect the shot from the point from Alex Ovechkin on that play, that's the difference right there. And those small plays go a long difference in games.
Yeah, Beauvillier gets the game winner, and you mentioned Alexander Ovechkin gets the assist, a little wrist shot deflected and very beautifully. For Ovechkin, still looking for his first goal of the season, so he's still 3 away from 900 for his career. Hey, your quick thoughts on the Capitals. I got to be honest, I thought a lot of things went right for him last year. I thought they kind of rode the wave of the Ovechkin chase, and I kind of thought they might take a step back this season. We'll see. I mean, they've looked okay so far. They do have some young talent and guys like Alexei Protas. But what are your thoughts on the Capitals this year?
I mean, the Capitals so far, it's been interesting to say the least, because I feel like going into this year, I didn't expect them to come out guns and blazing so far in the early going, but I did think that there were aspects of this Capitals team that could use, some improvements. Number one, they're still taking with the power play this year. They're having Ovechkin shoot from the right side, and also this was the thing that got me interested, especially I was watching on the MSG broadcast, of the Rangers game, where they talked about how the Capitals are making a concerted effort to limit Alex Ovechkin's minutes on the power play. In years past, how Ovechkin would play all 2 minutes of the power play, but this year it's been less. So I'm like, this is interesting. This is different. And the reason being is that because they want to keep him as fresh for as long as possible. But you talked about the younger guys, like the younger guys like Protas, who's growing into his own, and as well as another year of Chychrun in DC. This is a team that I think, coming off of last year, they understand what it takes to be among the top 3 in the division, as well as being among the top teams in the Eastern Conference. But I am interested in seeing how they are going to improve 5-on-5, but especially in a penalty kill where, let's face it, it's been less than stellar this year so far for the Capitals, an area that the Capitals are going to want to improve upon.
Maybe the final season for Alexander Ovechkin. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, his contract is up after this year. But as far as this game goes, the Caps are outshot. They were beaten badly in the faceoff circle. They went 0 for 1 on the power play. But as Dan Holme called him, I think Charlie Sideburns getting the job done in net for the 1-0 win over the Capitals. We'll check out the Rangers side of this story in a moment, and some interesting statistics for the Rangers to tell you about. We'll do that next. You're on Locked On NHL Game Night. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com. You'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, let's get the Rangers side of this as they outshot the Capitals 35-21. They won 65% of the faceoffs. They were the better team throughout, but it's about getting that puck past the netminder and into the net, and they could not do that past Charlie Lindgren. Let's get a report on this from our local expert with the New York Rangers, and that is John Chick.
So if you want a crazy stat for the New York Rangers 4 games into the season, it's this. They have only given up 3 total non-empty net goals in the 4 games that they've played. But I'll do you one better. There's an even crazier stat that builds on that one. It's the very simple fact that they are only 2-2 despite that number. But with that all said, the Caps beat the Rangers 1-0 tonight because of their goalie. Charlie Lindgren was absolutely fantastic. Plain and simple, the Rangers got goalied in this one. And as frustrating as it is to only be 2-2 and to feel like you deserved a better result if you're the Rangers after this game, I feel like big picture, if the Rangers continue to play this brand of hockey, they're going to be just fine. It's very, very difficult when you watch this game to find a single Ranger that played poorly. And, we talk about Charlie Lindgren. We got to mention Jonathan Quick, too. He was making a bunch of big-time saves for the Rangers, and that was obviously nice to see as well. But if the Rangers keep going like this, they keep playing with the kind of fire and energy and intensity that we've seen from them in the last 3 games, I think they're going to be just fine. But we'll break it down the next episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Do not miss it.
All right, and thanks to John Chick for that. He threw some stats out at us. I'll give you another one, Shu. The Penguins have played 2 games at home. They have 0 goals on home ice. If you're a season ticket holder at MSG, you're not real happy with that fact. But they were shut out opening night by the Penguins 3-0, and then shut out by the Capitals Sunday night by a score of 1-0. But John is right. I think if you're Mike Sullivan and you talk to your team afterwards, I don't think you have much to say. Maybe you don't even say anything because they outplayed the Capitals on most nights. If you play like that, if you outplay the other team, most nights you're going to get the 2 points. So I don't think, look, the results need to be the results. This isn't high school sports. There's no moral victories, but the message is, how did you play? You played pretty darn good. You do that more often than not, and you're going to be successful.
I mean, there shouldn't be any reason to complain if you're a Rangers fan about this game. I like what I saw watching the game tonight in terms of goaltending from Jonathan Quick. I like what I saw from all 4 lines in terms of playing with energy, tempo, like a very quick pass, quick pace game and whatnot. What I also did like is the fact that this year it just looked like, and I'm going to point out specifically Mika Zibanejad for a moment, because this year so far it looks like that he's playing with a certain fire that you didn't see at all if much of last year. And tonight I thought it was particular. He was very noticeable on the ice. But also, who was also noticeable on the ice as well as JT Miller. I thought that like the Rangers overall, in terms of their game plan, getting shots on goal, they did exactly just that. The problem was you shot it at a wall, and that just stopped everything that came at net. But defensively, I really have no complaints in terms of how they defended in their own end, how the D were able to break out the puck out of their own end as well. So from an overall standpoint, it's very difficult for me to complain or find anything to nitpick about the Rangers. The only thing would be is, hey, they got to figure out a way to score at home and break the scoreless drought. But outside of that, there's really not much to complain about. But man, like the Rangers, they did have their opportunities in the game. I talked about it in the previous segment about Mika Zibanejad getting robbed highway style by Charlie Lindgren in that first period. But outside of that, a well played game. But there's nothing to really hang their hats on in terms of this game.
Yeah, a battle of number 2 goalies going head-to-head in this one. Jonathan Quick, future Hall of Famer, winningest American-born goalie of all time, had 20 saves, just let the one in, and it was on a deflection. It wasn't even obviously a soft goal on his part. So, don't know how many more years Jonathan Quick has. Obviously, as a Kings fan, remember him very fondly from his time in LA. And some people have asked me, in terms of the Kings, wouldn't it be kind of cool if Anze Kopitar and Jonathan Quick both ended their careers after this season? Kopitar's already announced his retirement. I think Quick is one of those guys you're going to have to cut the jersey off of him. He's going to keep playing as long as he can because he just loves the game that much. And he's still as a number 2 guy who's won multiple Stanley Cups. It's not a bad situation playing for the team that he grew up rooting for as a child. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the Rangers since we've got time to do this kind of thing with one game. Of course, President's Trophy winners 2 years ago. Last year, one of, if not the biggest disappointment in the NHL. They fire their head coach. They bring in Mike Sullivan. I like what the Rangers have done. JT Miller was brought over last year, but now he's the captain. You bring over Vladislav Gavrikov from my LA Kings. I think the Rangers bounce back. I think they're going to be back in the playoffs this year.
I truly do think so, because this is a Ranger team that sometimes all you need is a change in voice. You need a change in leadership. And they got both of those things. And for me, I really do like a lot of the moves of what the Rangers were able to do, like, including, like bringing back JT Miller in the trade from the Vancouver Canucks prior to the end of last season, and now him being named captain, which I think is absolutely the right move at this point in time. But I am interested in seeing, like, what does Artemi Panarin do this year, to especially in a year where it's pivotal. Let's face it, he's due for a new contract in very short order. Like, what type of year is he going to have? But I think the leadership, and you've heard it a lot, even going back to the summer when we did the Locked On NHL Game Night preview and season in review with the Rangers. Leadership. You need to get that taken care of, and you did with Mike Sullivan. You bring him in, and you have that established in that locker room, along with, having guys like JT Miller and as well as Vincent Trocheck, who, by the way, both are from Pittsburgh, and our childhood friends who have a veteran leadership experience. I think that's going to be so important. But also, one of the things that I'm most looking forward to seeing is the development of Matt Rempe. What type of player is he ultimately going to become for the Rangers? We obviously know that he can fight, but he's much more than just a fighter. Like, can he be a solid night by night, like, fourth liner for this team, about a 6 forward? That remains to be seen. And then lastly, I do think that as far as the Rangers are concerned, in terms of the season so far, it's been interesting. Like, I really like what I saw, like, on the road in Pittsburgh. I didn't like what I saw in the season opener against the Penguins, getting shut out at home ice. But with the handful of games being in so far, they only played 4 games up to this point. I do like some of the changes that have been started in the locker room that's now translated to the ice.
Yeah, that season opener was not like this game. They did not play a good game against the Penguins. They came out flat, and you're like, how is that possible at home in your home opener? But they've been much better since then, thankfully, or else there'd be a lot of people wondering what the heck's going on in New York. You mentioned Artemi Panarin. He's 33 years old, final year of his contract, $11.6 million per year. We've seen a lot of the other big name UFAs starting to sign. McDavid, Kaprizov, Jack Eichel, Kyle Connor in Winnipeg. So we'll see. Artemi Panarin and maybe Adrian Kempe in LA seem to be the next 2 guys in line to get paid or not. So we'll obviously be watching and seeing how that develops for Artemi Panarin. All right, it is a holiday hockey Monday coming up. We're going to go over the schedule, tell you what to watch. We'll do that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer right now. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to bet across the app. I love using FanDuel because if it's however you'd like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds, it makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It is quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, the schedule will not have just one game or 16 games coming up on Monday, but a very healthy 10-game schedule. It is Canadian Thanksgiving. And Shu, you'll have to, I'm a West Coast guy. I don't know how it rolls on the East Coast, but we've got it used to be back in the day, it was Columbus Day. Now it's like Indigenous Peoples Day. Do you guys get that off on the East Coast? I think we don't get it off here on the West Coast. We got to go to work.
I mean, that's a good question. I know in the past, yes, people used to get off, but now, I mean, from what I understand, people like that, like you and I, that, that as either worked in sports media or are working in sports media, they typically are on or working. So, but we're working. Oh, absolutely. Like most
we don't have real jobs though. The people that have real jobs,
we get to do this for a living after all,
No, people that work in like banks and stuff, I guess they get off. So if you're off on Monday, and you want to watch some early hockey during the day, you have that option. 12:30 p.m. Eastern. You've got the Sabres hosting the Avalanche. Oh, Buffalo. They got a real good Colorado team coming in. They're 0-2. They've scored 1 goal on the season, and Lindy Ruff may be the first coach fired so far. So I'm gonna keep using this joke until it's over. Just go Bills.
I feel horrible. Like I was hoping he wouldn't get fired this quickly, but
I'm not saying it. It hasn't happened yet, but it's 1 goal in 2 games, and good luck against Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm with you in terms of the good luck part, because listen, that Colorado team, they just lost a tough one last night against Dallas in the shootout.
And they played well too. They played
a good game. So I mean, let's face it, Jared Bednar, he's going to have these guys ready to roll from puck drop. But as you mentioned, early games tomorrow. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm actually excited, because, like you mentioned, Sabres, Avalanche. But for me, the early game that there's 2 of them that I'm actually most looking forward to: Tampa Bay, Boston. But then also, don't forget the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are hosting the Detroit Red Wings at 2:00 as well. So that's also that's just a couple of early games I'm looking forward to. But it's a pretty good slate of games for Columbus Day tomorrow in the NHL.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the Lightning are winless, and the Bruins have not lost yet. So that's an interesting little matchup. Not many people would have saw that coming into it. A couple of 1 p.m. Eastern time start times. You got the Senators hosting the Predators. That's the Sens home opener. And the Islanders are at home against the Jets. Islanders looking for their first win, but Matthew Schaefer is sure fun to watch. Got his first NHL goal the other day. That kid is easy to root for, and he's very talented. So hopefully his future is bright there on the island.
Absolutely. And even going back to when he was drafted first overall back in June at the NHL draft, you knew that this kid was going to be must-watch TV, and he has not disappointed so far. But it is going to be fascinating to see him play against his Winnipeg Jets team, a veteran-laden team that has Stanley Cup aspirations coming into the island tomorrow. But then also, in terms of tomorrow's game, one thing I do want to highlight is that the Flyers, they have their home opener tomorrow against who? The defending Stanley Cup champions tomorrow night at 7:00. Especially given the way that they lost last night, the Flyers, that is, thinking that Bobby Brink had the overtime winner, only for that to be called back. Expect a very motivated Flyer team that hasn't won a game yet to play well against the defending Stanley Cup champions coming into the building.
Yeah, and that's already a rematch. They played each other down in Sunrise, Florida the other night, 2-1 victory for the Panthers, who have yet to lose on the season, 3-0. And Rick Tocchet still looking for that first win as Flyers head coach. You mentioned the Bruins and the Lightning. That's a 1 p.m. Start time. And then Leafs Red Wings is a 2 p.m. start time. So a couple other 7 p.m. Eastern games. You got the Devils and the Blue Jackets. That's the home opener for Columbus. Fire the Cannon. 7:30 Eastern, it's the Blues hosting the Canucks. 8 Eastern, my Kings are in Minnesota to take on the Wild. The LA Kings are playing their 4th straight playoff team from a year ago to start the season. So it's been a rough start to the year as far as the schedule goes. for the
Murderers
LA
Row.
Kings. Yeah, I better be ready to play every night. And then the
Yeah.
final game, 8:30 Eastern, Blackhawks hosting the Mammoth. Chicago 0-3, all 3 losses, though, by 1 goal. They've been playing hard. They're right there, but they just have not been able to get that 2 points for the regulation win yet.
And that's part of the beauty of hockey, in which that you think that you're down, like during a stretch and whatnot, you have an opportunity to bounce back. And if you're the Blackhawks, why not against this Mammoth team that, if you remember from over the summer, I predicted this team to be a sleeper team in the West. But Chicago, I do think that listen, they've got to keep their foot on the gas for all 60 minutes of regulation. And I think that they can, and I think that they possibly will, but ultimately they're going to need a lot more offense in order to make sure that they're able to give their goaltender, whoever may be in net, I'm presuming they'll be Spencer Knight, they're given an opportunity to win.
All right, so we got through it. Not bad. One game. We're able to put a show together, and we got to just kind of stretch our legs out a little bit and not be like sprinting like we were the other day with all those games on. So, all right. We'll see how the schedule goes the rest of the way. But
not only just that. I mean, like Saturday night was literally just like changing through channels and moving your eyes around, like as if you're a goalie, like, okay, I need to see this game, I need to see that game. But yeah, it is good to be able to catch a little bit of a breather for sure tonight with the lighter schedule.
Well, hope you enjoyed this. If you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL team podcast and YouTube show for your team, except for New Jersey. We're working on that. And for this show, Locked On NHL Game Night, we're here for you each and every night of the regular season and playoffs, wrapping up the night in the NHL. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love to know your thoughts on tonight's game in the comments section. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. For Shukri Wrights, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.
Happy Canadian Thanksgiving, folks, for everybody up north.